So, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dalibor Drljača, and I'm NCP for Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also Vice Chair of Marie Curie Alumni Association Western Balkan Chapter. Here I would like to welcome you to today's first webinar organized by Marie Curie Alumni Association Western Balkan Chapter. Together with my NCP colleague Branka Žižić from Podgorica, we will be your hosts today and moderators of this webinar. For the first introduction words, I would like just to give a brief history of how we started with the Western Balkan chapter. Namely, 2 years ago, we were invited by one of the former chairs of MCAA, Mr. Brian Cahill, and with the present chair of MCAA, Mr. Mostafa Munir, to discuss how to establish this Western Balkan chapter. In 2018, together with Ms. Radenka, also from Montenegro, we invested some efforts to establish the MCAA as an interest group within Marie Curie Alumni Association. You remember, most of you were present there, at the General Assembly in Vienna last year, we finally established this interest group and give our dedication to make further steps in order to establish a chapter. So this happened in 2019, and the kickoff meeting was done in Podgorica, in organization together with the Ministry of Science. Thanks also to Branka to helping us in this. And with this step, the Western Balkan chapter was established. So it was a little bit, shall we say, difficult. It was not so complex work, but it was difficult because we were not aware of the fellows. This is the problem that we as an NCP are having. We don't have the lists of fellows, and we cannot have this list even from the Commission because it's protected by the GDPR. So it is quite difficult to find the fellows and motivate them to work with us. So even today, I would invite all of you watching this webinar to help us in promoting the Western Balkan chapter by spreading the word of mouth about existing of this chapter and inviting those who are the fellows, regardless in a people program or in FP7 or in Horizon or in Horizon Europe, wherever they obtain their fellowship, to contact us via Marie Curie Alumni Association website or sending the email to one of us in order to register to be our member. At the moment, we're counting more than 90 active members, which is really impressive since we had only 2 years of work and really no marketing at all. The main aim of the Western Balkan chapter is to organize and to collect former and actual fellows from Marie Curie actions that were participating in these projects in order to share the best practices in science and research, discussing the relevant topics. This is very, very wide said, but it can be any topic in any scientific domain, because we are here in order to help everyone to build something, to construct something. And also to discuss the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions program, especially for those who are having some problems in the realization of their fellowship, and also to give the advice to those that are first time facing with this very interesting and very competitive program. The aim also is to introduce our members with different topics of wider interest, such as open science, for example, and also to contribute strengthening science and research in our countries. The main activities of our chapters are, beside this webinar, which is the first one, is also to have regular meetings that we are conducting even vis-a-vis or on GoToMeeting like today. And also we are trying to assist our colleagues whenever we have opportunities in person. And today we're going to speak about the innovative training networks, which is one very specific action oriented mostly towards the, so we call it early stage researchers, which means those not possessing PhD degree or having less than 4 years of full-time equivalent in research. So this means mainly master's students, because you have to be enrolled in the program that is providing you possibility to obtain the PhD degree after the end of the ITN. This is one of the simple rules of ITN. And today we will have opportunity to hear the first-hand experiences in the proposal preparation, submission, and implementation, and also the management of these complex and multi-institutional projects, because ITN is about the exchange of the ESRs, but this is involvement of the institutions, because the institutions have to accept these mobile researchers. You will be able to ask the questions directly via your chat box during this presentation. If the question is directed to the presenter, you will have to wait the end of the presentation. Otherwise, we will give our best to give you the answers immediately when you set the question. Due to the unfortunate and misfortune events, we had slightly to change our today's agenda. Therefore, we will first hear the experiences from Dr. Nevena Puvac, which is acting as a supervisor in one ongoing ITN project. And after that, we will have our two colleagues, Amit and Nikola, both of them from Belgrade, and both of them ITN fellows. Amit is ongoing fellow in Belgrade, while Nikola completed already his project and he is now more experienced. So they will provide you with the both views on the ITN. The view of someone who started the ITN project and working hard on it, and the other view of someone who is relieved that completed his PhD successfully using these funds. So it will be very interesting, both of the discussions. We are not going to intend to limit the presentations, but we have to keep some kind of 15 to 20 minutes of presentations of each of our participants. So I would like to just point this to our presenters, and you are free to ask the questions, as I said. I would like to give my special thanks to our chair, Radenka, for overall support in the organization and preparation of this webinar. My colleague Branka, that is going to help me to moderate this event, and special thanks for logistical support to Nicola, Marco, and Harun, all of our colleagues that have been participating in the preparation of this event to happen. So, in order not to be too long in this introduction, I would conclude the introduction and allow to hear our colleagues that have more interesting things to say to you. And now I will give the floor to Dr. Nevena Puvac from the Institute of Physics from Belgrade. As I said, she is a supervisor in ongoing ITN project novelties coordinated by the Spanish institution, which is also where the coordinator is, again, the person that is originating from the Western Balkan countries, Ms. Mira Petrovic. So, Dr. Puvac, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. I will try to give a short overview of our experience in preparing this proposal that we have now. And after that, maybe a little bit or some small things that we encountered at the beginning of the project, especially the administration. But mainly this first part in order so you can get a small picture, because I cannot tell you all the details, what you need to go through in order to get your proposal accepted. So first of all, my name is Nevena Puvac, and I'm a supervisor, as I already mentioned, at the project novelties. And we have one ECR with us in the Institute of Physics Belgrade, and he is co-supervised by a colleague who is in the ICRA Institute in Spain, where we where the PI of the project is settled. So to start, let's start. Sorry, I just need to go like this. Okay, to start, first of all, something about innovative training networks. As you just heard, this program is mainly for young researchers, or as they are called here, early stage researchers. So Dalibor explained what does that mean. And in general, the best applications we got from the students who just finished their master degree. When you are creating this innovative training network, it's very important to take into account that you need to have partnership from institutions who are academic and non-academic sectors. So first of all, you cannot concentrate only on one type of the institutions. You cannot work only with the faculties or with the institutes. You need to find partners who are in industrial sector. Depending on the type of the ITN you are applying for, the members from the non-academic sector or industry are well, crucial or just important to show that your proposal will touch this applicable side when they finish all of their PhDs. So therefore you have three modes. I'm not going to go into details. First mode is ITN, then IID, and IJD. We have now our novelties project is European Joint Doctorates, which means that each of our ECRs is enrolled in the two universities. For example, Amit is involved here in Belgrade, University of Belgrade, and also University of Girona. So to have a little bit of more insight, what does this mean? I will go just shortly over this table because that's just short information, and if you are applying for one of these, you need to really take into account all the limitations or benefits that you are applying for. So for European Joint Doctorates, which Novelties fits in for, you need to have PhD enrollment, which means that all of our students are enrolled at two universities. When you are doing ITN, then it's expected, but you don't need to have people involved in the PhD courses. Of course, when you apply and when you get the projects and then you put your ad on Euroaccess, for example, to get the best students to work at your project, since they are finished their master thesis, they are expecting for you to give them opportunity to get the PhD. So this essential with ETN basically means also mandatory, because you cannot just put your ad and say, okay, come to work for us, but in the end, we are not sure that you are going to get the PhD or not. Another thing which is important here, when you are planning things and when you are, let's say, explaining that to the ECRs who have applied for your ad, or the ones that you have chosen, is that they have a limited time to finish their PhDs, which is 36 months, which in general is a lot of time, and also not a lot of time, because, for example, in the situation in which we are here now, we are definitely frozen for at least last 3 months. So our students are not traveling for secondments, and we are not sure, of course, that will all be sorted out, but it's very important for you as someone who is going to write the proposal to know that there is a limited time for your ECR to finish all the tasks. Why is this important? I will come to that a little bit later on, but in general, that's something that you need also to take into account. So what's, let's say, a benefit if you are creating a proposal is this intersectoral exposure, which means that if you are going for this industrial doctorate, is obligatory, and you need to have this more than 50% of non-academic partners or beneficiaries. In each of these two others, it's important to have them because then your proposal is getting, let's say, more points with the referees. Because if you are only working with academic sector, that's nowadays not something that is looked upon as benefits. So even if the proposal is excellent, you will get the greatest marks, but in the end, the one with the greatest marks in this academic sector, or the idea or the excellence, will not pass if it does not have this additional industrial sector showing that when you finish training these new students, your PhD students, that they will have some kind of experience in the industrial sector. That does not mean that they need to do the part of their work or experiments in some industry, but that means that you are going to connect them with the industry which is related to the topic of your project. That's why that is, let's say, something that is important that you need to take into account when creating your consortium. So to go further to preparing the project, how do you start? So first, read the instructions. I know we are all the same, well, mainly physicists are like that. We first unpack the equipment, then look at it, then try to fit everything together, and then when we realize that we are missing something, then we read the instructions. So here, don't do that, because it will consume a lot of your time. So read the instruction first. And I can tell you that that will not be the only time that you are going to read these instructions, because they are complex. And if you are not used to, I mean, if you haven't been in these types of projects, then you need to really get acquainted with all the details that are in those instructions. But I can confirm that there are lots of help from the H2020 website, where you can find lots of presentations with the instructions. And also when you contact with your national contact point for these types of projects, you will probably get even more information and help that you need in order to start the preparation of the proposal. So these are main and very important points that you need to finish before you start. And then you will come back to them, because there are lots of work that needs to be completed before the final proposal is submitted to the online portal. So there are two types. I mean, not two types, but if you're a main proposer, you have different tasks, and the different tasks are related if you are participant only in some proposal. So as a main proposer, first of all, you need to think about the main topic of your ITM proposal. So is it interesting enough? Is it novel enough? Is it multidisciplinary? Because that's also important. So what does this mean? That even if you have a good idea, you need to take into account that first of all, you need to find the consortium. Then this consortium needs to come up with the 10 to 14 topics of the PhDs, because basically each ECR is doing a research which is equivalent to a PhD. And of course, you need to combine your consortium. So what I already mentioned, you need to combine academic and non-academic sector. Well, luckily for us, at this first proposal, we didn't, we haven't been a main proposer, which means really a lot of work, because the role of the main proposer is to collect everything, to put in one let's say complete picture, and to combine and to coordinate usually between 7 to 10 academic or non-academic beneficiaries in your proposal, with 10 to 14 or even more proposals for PhDs. So in this project that we already have, we acted as a participant. So what were our tasks when colleagues from Spain contacted us? Since this project is about wastewater treatment, we as a plasma physics, we don't fit in at first glance in this area, but when we talked about it, when we checked the papers, basically the colleagues from Girona checked the papers, and we talked about our accomplishment in these fields with plasma. So they said, okay, maybe we should include someone who is totally out of our field, but who is probably going to bring a different perspective to the wastewater treatment. So that's how we entered this consortium. And basically, this is the way they need to think when someone asks you to be a member. So you need to think about how are you going to contribute, and how is your expertise is going to fit, and your proposed PhD, how is going to fit to this consortium. So after that, when this initial part is finished, so you had this initial negotiations, lots of emails going back and forth. Luckily, if you manage to meet at some conferences, and you have an overall picture of the proposal, how many ECRs you need to prepare, how many ECRs will come to your institution, how many ECRs you can deal with your topics. Then you need to create a proposal for ECR. So what does that mean? In general, that's a short description of the PhD and the topic that this young researcher is going to deal with in these 3 years that he or she is employed at your institution. So you need to define your objectives, results, and make plans for secondments, which are basically your ECR is hired and employed at your institution, but during the duration of this project, he or she needs to go to the other institution or institutions for a specific amount of time in order to finish some experiments or do some research to get this ECR proposal done, and actually to get the PhD done until the project duration. So that's first thing that you need to do. Then, of course, when you do that, when you make agreements with your colleagues, how is this work is going to do, then you need to fit your roles in the work packages, which are a little bit different than other types of the project, because these projects are basically about training. So you need to think, of course, about the scientific part, but also you need to think, how can you train all of the students that are in this project as working as ECRs. So for us, for example, I need to think when I need to give a lecture that I'm talking to someone who is a chemist, who is a wastewater researcher, or who is a physicist. So that's something that you are crossing your boundaries, which is very interesting and also challenging, because then you realize that when you are only in your field, you learn to think in one way, but with this you need to go out and think how this will help better to understand your topic to the people who are also scientists, but not from your area of expertise. Then what is the most important? Your ECR that you are proposing need to bring some novelty to the field, whatever the field is. And when you do all this, in general, you need to communicate this with your PI or some of the ECR co-supervisors, and to fit all in the plan of consortium. And how this actually looks like when you are, this is a part of the technical proposal of the proposal itself, which is only 15 pages, so you need to be very concise, and you need to know what to write in order to get the best impact for your ideas. So first, Of course, usually this is yes. Everyone wants to be enrolled at the university, and that's something that which will give you a plus. So project title is basically like a PhD titles. You need to define very well your objectives. Actually, the objective is that this early stage researcher will work on during these 36 months. Then what will be her or his results after finishing this, and plan secondments. These secondments are very important because basically these types of projects are related mainly to these secondments. That's why it's training network, which means, for example, Amit, who will be you hear a little bit later, he is employed with the Institute of Physics, and he will be most of his time, these are the months that he is employed in Belgrade, but at some point he's going to move to Girona in order to continue his education and also to continue with his research. So when you are creating this type of ECR proposal, you need to take into account that this is not something that this person is going to work in your laboratory, but this plan needs to be done in that way that you can send them at different laboratories or one laboratory, which will have the role to help him or her to continue with the research and get some more training in the field that he or she needs to finish their PhDs. I will not go into details about these secondments because different types of secondments can be achieved depending also again on the type of the ITM project that you are applying for. So what are the other responsibilities and the other let's say problems and points that you need to settle before you get the project? Because these things are better to be finished in advance because it will be easier later when the project is obtained. So since you need to enroll your student to the university before you submit your project, I know that maybe this sounds crazy, but even before you submit your project, during the preparation of the proposal, go and talk to the faculty or the university where you want to enroll your student, because they all have different rules, even in the same country, which will mean that if you don't do this now, when you get the project, and there are some, let's say, limitations in time, because it's very short time between enrollment, between actually employment of the ECR and enrollment, and some things will not be able to be solved with the faculty or university because the length of the procedure, and you will have a deliverable that needs to be fulfilled at a certain month of the project. So my advice is go and talk to them before everything starts. Check the rules that apply. They will tell you. Maybe you will have to explain 10 times, but in general, that's much better. Try to obtain the letter of intent, which basically means that they listen to you, they are eager to participate in the sense that they are going to enroll these students, and that they are aware that this project is under application, which means when in a few months you get these projects, they will not be surprised when you come and say, okay, my student now will enroll here. And of course, this is the situation, unfortunately, here in Belgrade. For some of the administration in the faculties and universities, they are not acquainted with the rules of ITN. So if you need, for example, them to change some rules, which can happen because this is something new and there are not so many ITNs here in Serbia, this takes time. That's why it's better if you go in advance and try to settle these things, or at least get them acquainted that this will happen. For example, some well, it's not a difficult let's say, thing when you think about it, signing a bilateral agreement, which needs to be signed in European Joint Doctorate between two universities. Everyone plans to finish that in the first few months of the project, but in the end, it lasts more than a year because these procedures are really slow. So do things in advance if this is possible, because with this you will get much less headaches when finally you get your project. So another important thing is project financing, because these projects are not the same as the other projects that you can apply under Horizon 2020 platform, because the budget that is in this proposal, you are not making it. This is predefined and calculated by formula. And the main unit of calculating is one research month. So that means if you have one ECR, then you will get the amount of money which is related to one ECR, which is there, for example, for full 36 months period. So you are not making the budget. That's the most important thing to remember. But after you get the project, this budget can be distributed. But of course, there are some of limitations. So it's basically like this. This is just to take into account when you are planning your ECR, what can you expect and how much money you can count on in order to finish the research. So first of all, this is divided in two sections. This section A is related to the recruited researcher. So this is for the ECR, for the student that is coming. And under B, it's institutional costs. So this part here, which is for the ECR, this is only multiplied by the factor coefficient related to your country. So in general, you are going to get the amount which is predefined for your country. This is something that you should never, ever touch. So this is the amount of money that is going to your researcher, to the ECR that you have hired. This part is only if they are coming with the family. How this is distributed to them, how is this paid to them, that depends a lot on the laws in your country and let's say the way your institution is governing in their finances. But in general, this part here is not for research. So for research, you have this and some part of this. Of course, this is something which is, let's say, nominal value. That's not something that you are going to get in the end. What does this mean? This means that in general, when you recalculate all these values, you are going to get your final funding or final budget after signing a grant agreement. So to go to this part, that is basically important to know before you make the plans for your ECR, because first of all, you need to take into account that they are only there for 36 months, and the second of all, the money that you can spend on this research is defined in this B1, research, training, and networking costs. So this is something that you can spend basically on the research, on the small equipment, because there is not enough money for some big equipment, for participation in the conferences, for sending your student to the secondments, for tuition fees, for example, if it's applicable, for all the other fees that you need to pay. For example, if the student comes and he needs to apply for enrollment, then all the paperwork or all the taxes can be paid from this part. And it's, as I said, distributed among beneficiaries. So you start with the table, something like this one. And then as a consortium, you actually agree upon how much money will each beneficiary get. Why is this important? Because as I said before, this is a training program. This is not only a research program, which means that you need to organize lots of training schools and workshops for these students. So in that sense, the organizer will probably get some of the money which will come from this research training and networking cost, and that the other part managing part. So basically the final budget is defined among the consortium, and for this where you can add some more money for the research or for training, that can be taken from management and indirect costs. So here you have a management part and overhead part. And for this management part, it's basically your expenses when you are preparing reports, personnel costs for the project management, some indirect costs for of the project beneficiaries, and basically when you are creating your consortium agreement, the main part of this money will go to the main proposer, to the PI institution, because they have the biggest, let's say, responsibility, and most of the work and administration fall under their wing. So in the end, like in this part for the research, this also will probably change from the number per unit that you have here. So this is for 1 month, then you multiply with number of months that your ECR have, and then you get this nominal value which you distribute according to rules that you create among the beneficiaries. And within your host institution, well, that's a matter of your negotiation, because when you get your consortium agreement and when you get the final table of your budget, then always an institution will take an overhead. So that's something that you need to negotiate within your house. So in the end, I would like to stop here with this part of how to apply and what you need to think about it. And when you get these projects, I really want to congratulate you and wish you good luck, because definitely you will need it. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Nevena. So we heard the part of the story from the side of the institution, which is participating in the Innovative Training Network, European Joint Doctorate. This is a specific aspect of the story about innovative training networks from the institution side, how it looks like to prepare a proposal, to prepare to be a host of early stage researchers. For a project that won this European Joint Doctorate in a very fierce competition, we have to say, because we know that all the Marie Curie actions are pretty competitive. There are a lot of proposals being submitted. For example, more than 1,500 proposals are submitted at the European level. So it is very hard to get, but I think that it is much better for the European joint doctorates and for the European industrial doctorates, because much less proposals are being submitted, and a higher success rate, around 12%, is under these two type of schemes, which also shows that our university systems are still not so ready to switch to collaboration between research and the business, which is a way how to proceed for all our institutions and all our PhDs to think about connecting academia and business. And I have a special pleasure now to announce the next speaker, who is Amit Kumar. He's an early stage researcher for the project Novelties, where Nevena is one of the host institutions. So Amit is currently being hosted by the Institute of Physics on this project, and we will hear from him about his experiences as early stage researcher. But before that, I have to congratulate Amit because he has recently received a very important award as Marie Curie fellow, and it is an award. He will tell us a little bit about it, but we have seen that it is very, very interesting. It's called Falling Waters. So he can also tell to us in his presentation what is this award about, and we can also stress the fact that these fellowships are open to the whole world. So I think, Amit, you came from India, but you could apply for fellowships in Europe in different institutions. So you can also maybe shed some light on this aspect of being open to the whole world and collaborating among young researchers from the whole world, and also from different host institutions in Europe, both from academia and from business. So Amit, thank you also for jumping in to help us with these last minute changes in the agenda, and the floor is yours.
So hi, can you hear me?
Yes, everything is fine.
Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, so hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about experience as a Marie Curie Fellow and European Joint Doctoral student. So I'm Amit Kumar, a joint doctoral student through Novelties, through Marie Curie Action and Novelties project. I am ESR4, and I'm pursuing my PhD under supervision of Dr. Nevena Pues, Dr. Wolfgang Janek, Professor Dragan Pavlovich, and at the Institute of Physics, Belgrade, University of Belgrade, Serbia, and I'm going to do my secondment at Catalan Institute for Water Research, ICRA, University of Girona, Spain. So let me explain you first about novelties, as Nevena explained. So novelties is basically new material about new material and inventive water treatment technology, and there are 14 individual research projects in this novelties, and of course there are 14 ESR. I'm one of them. I'm ESR4. So I will spend, actually I have just 3 to 4 slides. I will take only 10 minutes. So I will spend a few seconds on my previous background, like my studies. So I did my undergraduate and master degree from Indian universities. And then after my master, I was a research assistant at the same institute where I have done my master degree. So when I was as a research assistant, then I wanted to like pursue my PhD, and actually to be honest, I was not familiar with this European Joint Doctoral Program. So some of my friends, they are already Marie Curie Fellow. They are pursuing their PhD from European universities, and I had discussed regarding this. So can I apply for PhD under Marie Curie and others? So yeah, they have suggested me like, okay, you can go through, and they are providing like enough funding and financial support, and it takes 3 years like to complete your PhD and all. So first, okay, so first I have gone through this Euroaccess. So I saw here many positions, like, but in many areas, of course. So I was looking PhD in those areas where I wanted to do. For example, I was working on plasma for fuel generation, hydrogen fuel generation and all, but I didn't get exactly the same. But there was PhD vacancies on related to plasma, but not for fuel generation, for wastewater treatment. So I have gone through that, and then these are the so I've gone through all those procedures. So I saw, okay, I can mostly this PhD is mostly going to be focused on, like my part is going to be focused on design, development, and characterization of non-thermal plasma system for wastewater treatment. So I thought it would be nice because, okay, since I had not spent a lot of time on water research and all, so but most of my work was on plasma technology. So I had discussed with my master supervisors and all. They said, okay, that would be nice if you get this PhD. Since even though this project is a bit separated from fuel generation and all. So then I have decided to apply for this. Then in the beginning they said, okay, you have to send your updated CV for this PhD vacancy, updated CV, 2 letter of recommendation, degree, like previous degree certificate, for example, undergraduate transcript and transcripts and degree certificate, master transcript and degree certificates, along with all those grades and all, and then statement of purpose. They have also said to send. Not to send English proven certificate, but English must be written and speaking English must be strong. So they have not asked for TOEFL or IELTS certificate. So after the application, I got an interview call. So my interview went. Okay, so during interview, it was conducted by my main supervisor, so Dr. Nevena Puez, and she took my interview, and it was for around 25 and 30 minutes, and she explained me everything about the project and about the fundings regarding secondment, and for example, I had many doubts regarding conferences, and for example, if I'm going to travel to for my secondment, how many months I have to be there, and at all. And then so after some time, after I was waiting for my so my interview, overall my interview went well, and then I asked when can I get my results. Then so after 20 days, 25 days, I think I got my results and I got selected for this ITN project. And then okay, so I'll talk about this funding and what does the funding covers, and secondment and research visit and project aspect as an MCA fellow, and negative aspects as an MCA fellow. So this funding covers a monthly living allowances, mobility, family allowances, research costs including organization, joint activity and conferences. And for example, if I'm going to attend any workshop in some other countries, so all those things going to be covered. For example, and other things like I'm writing papers, and if I need to spend money for journals and all those things will be covered through this funding. And all ESRs, as I said in this project, there are 14 ESRs. Each ESR has to do their secondment in different institutions. For example, I'll be here for more than 2 years in Belgrade, and then I need to go to Girona, Spain for my secondment. So I'm going to Spain by June 2021. Then I'll come back for 10 months, and I'll come back to Belgrade. Then I'll do all those my thesis work and all. So, and then I will talk about some positive aspects as an MCA fellow. So as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't know about. So I got all those information from my friends, and then they have recommended me, okay, go through all those like some website, and you'll get a lot of information. So to be honest, in my opinion, that's funding which I'm getting that's enough for me, and this I like this funding scheme of MCA, and the ground cover, all this travelings and all, and this this is an incredible like interdisciplinary research and networking collaboration, and like all those fundings, all those allowances like traveling to attend conferences, international conferences, or all those these secondment, all those things going to be covered by this scholarship. And but another thing, like there are some negative aspects, but for example, when I was in India, when I came here, so I had some issue regarding contract. Like it was difficult. Like when I came here, so it took me more than 1 month to sign my final contract, because this is official work in Belgrade. It takes more than one. I was not getting funding for like 1.5 months. So my supervisor, she was supporting me at that time, because I had to sign my contract until my final contract. So I could have not get the funding. So that was the issue. But I could not say that's institute's fault. That was the official work here in Belgrade. So, but it could have been better, like if I would have got the funding, like without signing my final contract. For example, as an international student in Serbia or in any countries, it is difficult to survive like for 2 months without getting funding from the project and all. So that was, but I could not say that that's institute for that's official work. So that's the thing from my side, and my overall research is here focused on the design, development, characterization of non-thermal atmospheric plasma system for wastewater treatment. So overall, here I'm going to design a cold plasma system for wastewater treatment. So that's from my side. Thank you so much. And like I got this information to present in like 1 hour before, so like I made 3 to 4 slides. If you have any questions, sure, that you can.
Thank you so much. Maybe you can say a little bit about the award that you have received.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot that. Okay, so that's award I got. It's called Falling Walls Lab Slovenia. So actually, I have applied for Falling Walls Lab Belgrade. So due to lack of applications, they have cancelled this competition. They have they have transferred my application to Slovenia. And then they have selected my application in first round, and then in first round they have selected 6 people from including from Serbia as well as Slovenia, and in the second round they have selected one, okay, of course me. And then okay, so this is about I had 3 minutes, like 2 minutes 30 seconds to give my idea. So and to convince them in 2 and 3 minutes, and 2 minutes 30 seconds, and they gave me 30 seconds for questioning answering. So this was about and this like after this it is going to be the grand finale will be in Berlin. So they are going to select 100 people worldwide. So all those 100 winners, they will go to Berlin in November. I think in November. And then again we need to give presentation, same presentation which we gave during this Falling Walls Lab. This it was online. So yeah, that's the thing.
And what was your idea that you presented?
My idea was related to my PhD research. So my topic was breaking the wall of organic micropollutant by using plasma. So for example, okay, micropollutant such as these pharmaceuticals, dyes, and the surfactant is an extremely difficult to remove by conventional methods. For example, using chlorine or other biological techniques. So and okay, you can remove by chlorine, but chlorine is not an eco-friendly technology. So I gave idea, okay, we can remove these kind of pollutants by using plasma. and without using any kind of chemicals, and this device operates at low temperature, and just we need to put the polluted water sample under the plasma, and then it could be treated in few minutes. So yeah,
great, great. This is great to hear that physics is contributing to our cleaner environment.
Yeah. So yeah.
Great. I don't think we had any specific question related to your presentation, but until the end of the webinar we might. So everyone who is attending, please, if you have something to ask to Amit, either related to the technical sides or to the content of his PhD project, you can write in the chat box and we can ask to him. And now we can move on with the agenda and ask Nikola Škoro. He is now experienced researcher from the Institute of Physics in Belgrade, but once he was also the early stage researcher from Marie Curie program at Research Center Democritus in Athens. So he has experience both as a young researcher in Marie Curie fellowships and as experienced researcher now in the Novelties project. So he can tell us something about his experience, what it meant to his career, how it changed his career and maybe his life by being a Marie Curie fellow and alumni now.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Branka, for your announcement. And yes, I will just be like summing up of maybe Amit's talk and maybe a bit Nevena's talk, but more from Amit's side. As Branka said, I used to be an ESR in ITN project named SPAM in National Scientific Research Center Democritus, Athens, Greece in 2013. And now I'm a co-supervisor at ITN Project Novelties here at the Institute of Physics, Belgrade. And Amit mentioned many aspects, positive and negative. I will just give my idea and my thoughts of something that is now quite distant time away. Yeah? And now I'm also, as a co-supervisor, more familiar with this other side of the project management, so I can put those two things together. So after all these years, and even nowadays, I think this all these Marie Curie grants are very prestige research grants, and they allow you to actually, as an ECR, be involved in front-end research, and also as an experienced researcher, help you a lot to shape your ideas for the future research, and also to participate in calls of future Marie Curie projects. And what I found to be the most, the best thing for this, apart from this very interesting and relevant research, is secondments and traveling. In my case, I was main institution was Research Center Democritus in Athens, and the secondary institution was ASML company from Netherlands. So I in this part of my PhD work, I also spent a few months, actually around 2 months in total in this company, which puts you really a nice in a nice situation to find out not how the research is done, not only in academic institution but also in the industry. And of course, this interdisciplinary work is very important, and that makes many contacts from different fields of research. So your networking is boosting. And of course, as Amit said, there is also a financial benefit for ESR itself. And what is more important from this point of view nowadays, I can say that it's also a complete funding scheme, because you get money for all these conferences, all this traveling that you need to fulfill successfully your PhD. But of course, being a big system, Marie Curie projects tend to be very bureaucratic at all levels. So this bureaucracy is something you need to handle all the time, and it's not only towards the project, but also towards the other institutions, your main employer institution, or some governmental institutions regarding your visa or working permit and all this. And of course, this traveling is something which is very appealing and very nice, but sometimes it's also very tiring, and you find maybe not enough time to work on your research. And of course, now I see that I was very lucky, because actually what I had there wasn't a joint doctorate. So I had only one supervisor, and in this European joint doctorate programs, you actually have at least 2 PhD supervisors, which sometimes puts you in a position that probably you don't know who to listen to, or maybe if these supervisors are not collaborating closely, then it can be maybe a source of some extra work for you. But in any case, these are just minor things, and what I wanted to conclude with is one thought from Marie Curie, that it's actually the way of progress is neither swift nor easy. So, and in the end, you really end up with doing very nice research and meeting people from all around the world. So I think this is quite a beneficial thing for either ESRs or any other participants in these Marie Curie projects.
Thank you, Nicola.
Okay, thank you. I will just pass the word now to Dalibor. Thanks to everyone on my side.
Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, Branka. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Nevena. I hope that the participants of our webinar today had the opportunity to learn and find out the things that they have been thought about it, maybe have some doubts about this program and this scheme. And I hope that our participants will be even more eager to participate in this program. For any question, for any kind of intervention or clarification, you are free to contact your closest national contact point in any country that you are residing, because national contact points are there for you, not only to be there as a national contact points. We have a lot of work to do also, but we're always willing to help you to be part of this prestigious family. Once again, I would like to thanks to all participants today, also to thanks to all audience that were with us today, that was willing to listen to us, and also to thanks to organizers and Marie Curie Alumni Association for this event. All the presentation and video recording materials the link will be sent to you via email after this webinar. Once again, thanks everyone, and good luck with your applications in the Horizon Europe. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.